my name is Pazuru and welcome to my channel where I investigate anything spooky, mysterious, cryptic, or morbid. Today on the channel we'll be looking into H.H. Holmes. But before we get into all the little details, please like and subscribe. It really helps a lot. Thanks! Alright, I just want to give a warning that I am reading completely off my notes and my notes alone. I did not make a script for this one. I really don't feel like it because I'm lazy. So yeah, I'm just going to get right into it, okay? So H.H. Holmes. H.H. Holmes was born in May 16th of 1861 in Gilmington, New Hampshire, and his birth name was Herman Mudgett. He eventually changes it to H.H. Holmes, but I will be referring to him as Mudgett until he does in this storyline that I have compiled here. Herman Mudgett was known as an American swindler, and he's widely considered America's first documented serial killer, but I first and foremost believe he is, above anything else, a swindler. He is Mr. Krabs levels of swindling. I don't even know how else to express that. Like, I genuinely believe that if Mr. Krabs wasn't confined to a kids show and had to keep kids show ideals, I very much believe that Eugene Krabs would do a lot of the things that H.H. Holmes does, because he seems to be only motivated by money here. And honestly, it's kind of cartoonishly funny at some points how stupid he can be for some money. And by how stupid he can be, it's going to be at the very end, because I'm going to be judging him for this decision at the very end of this. But it also leads him to be making a lot of deadly choices on other people's behalf, which is very unfortunate. But I do believe that Mr. Krabs, if he was not in a kid's show, this would be him. So moving on from Mr. Krabs, no more Mr. Krabs, I have brain rot. Mudgett was actually born to a wealthy family, and he showed signs of being highly intelligent at a very young age. Mudgett eventually does discuss the fact that he was locked in a closet full of skeletons at a young age by a group of bullies, and this would impact him in a way where he becomes fascinated with, like, the human body. Like, I can understand that being traumatizing for like, the first part, but I mean, like, yeah. He kind of cites that as, like, one of the first things for him. He ended up having such an interest in medicine at such a young age that he would allegedly trap and perform surgeries on animals. This is very, very similar to how a lot of serial killers tend to kill animals when they are very young. It seems very on par with each other. There's also suggestions that he may have killed his childhood playmate by the name of Tom, who supposedly fell off of a roof of an abandoned house while they were playing in it together. There's nothing saying that he did, like, push Tom or anything like that. It's widely believed that he just fell. But there is, like, that kind of hanging up in the air that maybe he either killed him, or this is what had introduced Mudgett to death at a very young age. Another traumatizing event, I suppose, that might impact him later down the line. But it's kind of up in the air whether or not he did it, like I said. So eventually, later down on his life, he marries a woman named Clara. I believe he was around 17 years old at this time, and they ended up having a baby in 1880. He became a doctor's apprentice for a year before moving to Burlington, Vermont to study medicine. Without his wife, by the way. He just leaves her in New Hampshire. I mean, you'll see he's kind of an asshole. I'm saying he's kind of an asshole, but listen. Anyways, no, so this man is kind of an asshole. He just kind of, like, ditches his wife and his baby, goes to Vermont. And in Vermont, he was a pretty mediocre student, but he loved dissections, like, loved them, like, to a creepy extent that his classmates would notice it. And at this university, he was so passionate for dissections that he was at the point of taking bodies back to his room with him. So, like, there was a story that his roommate was just, like, smelling something in, like, their room, and eventually one of, like, the people who ran the room, I guess, like, I don't even know, like, faculty or something, came to the room. I don't know if it was faculty or a landlord. Like, I don't understand how dorms work at this point. But whoever it was, they came into the room and they found the dead baby underneath his bed. And he was like, oh, I just took it from class because I was having so much fun. Like, this is just my homework. I swear to God, it's not like I killed the baby. I just took it from class, you know? And they kind of just told him, don't do it again. And I mean, I don't know who the frick would take a dead body home with them, but he would apparently. He was just so into dissections that that was something he decided to do for some reason. So, during this time of him being at university, Clara had enough of Mujit and she left him. She said, peace, like, you're kind of an asshole, you ditched me and the kid, and I'm not dealing with this. And also, while he was at university, it is known that he had flirted with other women while still married to Clara. So Clara, while they're still married, she just, like, left him. Like, they're still legally married, but she's gone now. She doesn't want anything to do with him. She was like, fuck you, bye. So, after this whole debacle of them not being together anymore, Mujit decides, I'm gonna leave, and I'm gonna go to Michigan, and I'm gonna go to middle school at the University of Michigan, which was very much known for being a leading science school at the time. So, while at university, he would, like, notice that the university needed corpses, you know? They were at a point where, like, they need more corpses for dissections and stuff, and Mujit was like, I got a guy, and that guy's me. And he came up to his professor and kind of set it up, and then he decided that he was gonna grave rob corpses and sell them to the university, which he did. He grave robbed corpses out of their graves, and he sold them. And that's how he started making money. I think he made, like, according to, like, whatever I saw, like, $1 million off of doing this. Like, he was, like, at least $1 million in our current day currency. He's making, like, $1 million. So he's getting rich. Like, why would he need a job if he's just gonna, like, steal corpses? So he starts stealing corpses. He would even eventually steal corpses from the University of Michigan and use them in false insurance claims on top of that. So not only is he robbing corpses from graves and, like, selling them to the university, he is also stealing the corpses back from the university and using them in false insurance claims. So, man was just figuring out how to make money in any way fucking possible. He has dollar signs in his eyeballs. He is Eugene Krabs, okay? So, later on, in 1884, he would almost be prevented from graduating college because he was accused by a widowed hairdresser of making false promises of marrying her. And this wasn't the first time Holmes had flirted with women to this extent, as he would also flirt with, like, his landlord's daughter at one point during his college career. And, like he's doing all of this while still, like, technically being married to Claire back in New Hampshire. So, like, this isn't the first time he's done this, and he almost got prevented from graduating college because of this woman's claims. And what happened was, like, he was just like, no, she lied. She didn't say, like, like, I did not make those promises. She is lying. She is a fibber and all this other shit. Like, he's gaslighting everyone. Like, I did not do that. So then he gets his fucking diploma and looks the professor right in the eye, and he was like, yeah, everything she said, it was true. Got my diploma. I'm out. Peace. Fuck you guys. I'm very much ad-libbing here, but you get the point. He did that. He literally gaslit them, got what he wanted, and then ungaslit them. Man was doing the most. And the least at the same time. So, basically, he ends up moving place to place for a while, becoming a fraudster during this time. And he was already linked... Okay, so, like, while he's moving around, like, the United States from place to place, he already is linked to 2 murders of 2 young boys, one which disappeared after allegedly being seen with him, and the other that died taking drugs from a pharmacy that he worked at. Though it was never known if he was the actual cause of their death or not, but, like, he was, like, heavily there. Like, they took drugs that he gave them, and then one of them died, and then the other one was seen with him last. So it's heavily implied that he probably killed them, especially since he is known to murder people later, so we can just imply from here that probably him. And it does kind of go with the way that he is said to murder people. The medicine one kind of goes along with it because he's not a brutal murderer from what I can find. Like, he doesn't like just like chop people up or do this or that, you know. He's very much like a cyanide, like suffocation. He likes suffocation, in particular. They aren't brutal in a way that it's like a stabbing or like cutting their bodies in half or torturing them or anything like that. No, it was very much like, here's some cyanide poisoning, here's this, here's that. And it was in a way where the bodies would stay intact. And sometimes I think that, like, what if he didn't actually burn the bodies? What if he was just selling them? Like, he killed people to sell their bodies to science. Because, like, I feel like that's more in line with him than what is stated. Like, I understand he did definitely dispose of some bodies, but, like, at other times, I'm just like, maybe he sold some of them. Like, he seems like the type that would have sold some of the bodies. At least some of them. Like, he had to have tried to sell at least one person he murdered. I'm gonna be honest. But anyways, so after that kid died from the medicine that he gave the kid, he ends up getting the fuck out and moving to Chicago in 1886. And he takes a job as a pharmacist, and this is where he changes his names to Dr. H.H. Holmes, so Henry Howard Holmes. He would eventually own the pharmacy, and it became very popular amongst women because they wanted to see the attractive new doctor. There's rumors that he, like, killed the people to get the pharmacy, like the original owners of the pharmacy, but that's not true. It seems that he just, like, got the pharmacy after the wife was widowed and the husband died to, like, nothing that he did, you know? He didn't do anything. So that rumor is false. There's a lot of rumors with this guy, by the way, that are false or are unknown to be true or not. But that's one of them. So soon after he moved to Chicago, he would begin killing people to steal their things. So instead of just killing to kill or anything like that, he was killing people with the intent of just taking their stuff. He wanted, like, anything he could really get his hands on monetary-wise. It seemed like money was a first for him. It was, like, the primary thing that he liked. And killing would be, like, a second thing that he liked to do. So it was, like, money first, then killing. It's always for the money first with this guy, just to keep that in mind. So he ends up building himself a house, which is now known as the Murder Castle in Chicago. And it had secret passages, trapdoors, soundproof rooms, doors that could be locked from the outside, gas jets for asphyxiating victims, and a kiln to cremate the bodies, according to newspapers. I will get onto that more. And he called the house the World's Fair Hotel from the World's Columbian Exposition that was happening at the same time, though it was never a proper hotel. And I just want to mention that he did not pay any of, like, the contractors that worked on this house, from what I heard. I think he, like, gaslit them into believing that he sent them money, but he did not. I believe he's just, like, a gaslighter, honestly. This, like, seems in line for him, honestly. Like, he told people, like, I sent you the money. You lost it. I definitely sent you the money and you lost it. So he would just gaslight people, basically. And that's just something that I, like read. And then in 1937, the Chicago Tribune would describe the house as strange, as it had chimneys sticking out of where they did not belong, stairs that led to nowhere, and winding passages that could cause you to walk in circles. I'm stuttering. Okay, so he made the house like this on purpose, so that way the house only made sense to him, and the victims would get lost easily. So yeah, like, people think that he did this on purpose just to get people lost and confused so he could, like, capture them more easily. The first floor was made to house shops that Holmes could rent out in the growing city, and then above these shops would be small apartments, which would be made after the shops were made. So Holmes made the first floor first, technically, and then he made the second floor. And the reason he made the second floor was because Holmes caught wind that investors were interested in investing in hotels at the time, as the fair was now coming into the town and a lot of people would be coming. I think up to like 27 million people came to this fair from what I remember reading. So there was a lot of people coming in and out of Chicago at the time, and they were looking for hotels because there was not too many hotels in the area. They were looking to invest in that because, you know, people are coming to town. And he had no real interest in making a hotel, but he said, fuck it, I'll take the money and I'll put some apartments above the shops that I have going here. So this is how the apartment part comes in. So in 1893, the World Columbian Exposition in Chicago started up, and Holmes allegedly seduced and murdered multiple women during this time. He would be a black widow of sorts, as he would become engaged to them, so he could secure control of their savings first, before murdering them. So he was basically like marrying women, taking their money, and then getting rid of them. Though he didn't marry all of them, I do not believe. I wouldn't say marry, but like he gained possession of their assets before. So I think he only married 3 or 4 times total. I think it's 3. I think he had 3 wives in his life, and that the rest were just like girlfriends or rendezvous partners, and that he gained possession of their assets and then murdered them, whether it be through marriage or through legal documents. He would gain control of their finances, which is very common for abusers, because he also abused his wives. Yeah, very common for abusers to try to take financial control of the other party's assets, which is something he would do. And he also was said to beat his wives. So let's continue on with that. He also would make his employees at the time carry life insurance policies with him as the beneficiary, so he could have the money after killing them as well. And speaking of his employees, they were apparently just kind of used to him being fucking weird. Like, they thought he was just a silly little guy, like a silly, quirky little guy. So none of them really questioned his weird behaviors or the weird things that he would ask them to do. Like, one employee was asked to be put into a room, I think it was the safe, and to scream once the door was closed to see if it was soundproof. Or some of the staff would catch Holmes, like, tiptoeing around at night. And another one even said that he would show off weird disguises to them. And they just acted like this was another day at the job for them. They thought he was just a quirky, silly little guy. Like, this did not ring any alarm bells to them. Yeah, and then he would even go as far as to sell the bodies of the people he killed to the local medical schools. Yeah. So he did indeed do that. However, here's where we're gonna get to a however. None of these claims can be proven true. There's no evidence to say that he killed anyone in the hotel, and that the weird structure of the building can actually be attributed to the fact that Holmes liked to buy things on credit and never pay for them. And then when the people came to collect the items, it would be impossible for them to take it back without breaking into a wall. So yeah, that's how he got a bunch of free furniture. Also, there was no evidence of any torture chambers or gas chambers in the house. As for the bodies Holmes would sell, it was likely they were obtained by grave robbing rather than his murder victims. Holmes also would clarify that he killed his victims through suffocation, through various means. So he would make them overdose on chloroform, or an overexposure to lighting gas fumes, or trap them in airless vaults. He also claimed to use starvation, and I think he would burn people, but I think the starvation and burning people were way less often than suffocation. So, yeah, a lot of the things that the media claimed were not true. Once they caught wind that there was a murderer who built a very weird house, they kind of just went at it, you know? They started making up a whole story that wasn't true. The only thing that we can say is true, however, is that during this time that he was in the murder castle, he did have an affair with a woman named Julia, who worked at one of the shops in the building, who had a daughter named Pearl. Both Julia and Pearl would eventually disappear and never be found. Herman would claim, Herman Holmes would claim that she died giving herself an abortion, but this wouldn't really explain why her or her daughter would never be found, because, like, you'd think that they'd at least have the body of the mother and, you know, the living daughter as, like, proof, but, like, no, they don't. And it's, like, really weird, because if you know she died giving herself an abortion, you would, like, alert someone that she's, like, dead, I would assume. But no, like, she just disappeared off the face of the planet. Disappeared. We also know that in 1892, Holmes would date a woman by the name of Emmeline, and they would eventually get engaged. But soon after, she would claim that she was moving back to Indiana without saying why to her neighbors before disappearing without a trace. And Holmes would claim that she ran off to marry another man named Robert. So yeah, another woman just mysteriously disappears while being with Holmes. And then at some point, he also gets with a woman named Minnie, who was the heiress to a small fortune. And Minnie also knew about a lot of the shady things that Holmes was up to. She actually knew about this stuff, as her signature was on a lot of the documents. At the time, I guess, like, she was signing documents going along with his scams, to say the least. But yeah, she seems to have trusted him for some reason. I don't know why. He's like a walking red flag, my girl. Like, walking red flag, especially if you know he's a swindler. But she trusted him, and she trusted him to the point where she actually signed over her estate to him. Like, all her finances and her stuff. All to him. He has it now. And she even convinces her sister for some reason to do the same. And I just don't get it. I just don't get it. But still, she gets her sister to do it. And then you know what happens after he gets all this stuff? She disappears. Minnie's gone. Minnie is poofed out of reality. On a side note, I am going to mention that the murder castle did end up being gutted by a fire by an unknown arsonist shortly after Holmes' arrest, which is going to be way in the future. We're still not there yet, but I feel like mentioning this just to say, like, any evidence of, like, the house that we could see nowadays is not there. There's a post office there now. But there's, like, no way for us to really, like, say if, like, the news was right about, like, what they were saying is inside the house. But according to police, there wasn't much, like, there was no torture chamber. There was nothing really too blaringly weird except for the structure of the building. But that was pretty much confirmed to be just him wanting to steal items, essentially. He wanted to buy furniture without actually having to pay for them. So yeah, weird guy. So back to our timeline here. In 1893, he eventually gets arrested for insurance fraud after he started a fire in his house that he was trying to, like, he basically started a fire in his house and he tried to claim insurance on it, but, like, he started the fire, like, on purpose. So he got arrested. And he was soon released after this arrest. After his release, he ended up starting a plan with his associate named Ben Pitziel, I think is how we say it, to defraud an insurance company by faking Pitziel's death. After buying a $10,000 life insurance policy, Pitziel and Mudgett would travel around the US, and Mudgett would eventually marry during this time. I don't know why I'm still calling him Mudgett, it's Holmes. So Pitziel and Holmes, they end up going around the US, and Mudgett marries again during this time. He's not monogamous whatsoever, this man. So during their second time in Missouri, so they ended up going to Missouri at one point, but then they ended up going again. And Mudgett was arrested for fraud during the second time in Missouri during their travels, and he was jailed in St. Louis. And here is where karma's gonna start to get him. This is where he met Meron Hedgepeth, who was a career criminal, as some would say, which is basically means he just gets arrested a lot. I think he was like a train robber specifically, but he gets arrested a lot, right? So Maron, sorry, I misspoke, so I want to say Moron. But it's probably Maron. Anyways, Maron decides to join Mudgett in the insurance fraud scheme, you know? I'm trying to, like, remember what I was saying. Okay, so basically, Mudgett tells Marin about the fraud scheme, and he agrees to help Holmes with it. So Holmes is like, hey, I got this insurance fraud thing I'm doing. You want to join me? Well, he's in jail. And the guy's like, hell yeah, I want to join you. Yeah. I keep saying Mudgett even though I should be saying Holmes. So while Holmes was in jail, Pitziel moved to Philadelphia and opened a fake patent office to scam investors. So yeah, Pitziel just kept scamming while Holmes was in jail. Okay, anyways. Once Mudgett was released from jail, he also made his way to Philadelphia, and in a turn of events that no one finds surprising, he ends up killing Pitziel. For real. Like, it wasn't a body double, he killed him for real. He said, you're out of the picture, bye. You know? He tried to make it look like the death was an accident for the police, but the police thought it was suspicious, but I guess they didn't really look into it too much or whatever for some godforsaken reason, but it was suspicious nonetheless. But he got the insurance money from it, and then he convinced Pitziel's widow that he didn't actually kill Pitziel, and Pitziel's widow kind of fell for it because, you know, she was in on the plan that there would be a body double. So Mudgett gave her $500 of, like, their times cash. It's probably worth way more now. But he gave her $500 of money that he collected, and he sent her on her way. And then Holmes became worried that one of Pitziel's 5 children would rat him out, so he ends up killing 3 of them, 2 of which he did very sloppily. Because the first one that he killed, he poisoned their food. And he ends up chopping that poor child's body up and putting him in a furnace and basically disintegrating the body into ashes. As for the second 2, he poisoned their food again. And he just kind of very sloppily buried them. I think it was by the house, like in the cellar or something like that. He just sloppily buried them. Like, it was very easy to find their bodies. But yeah, no. He did that. He got rid of the kids. And then, eventually, Hedgepeth, you know, the career chemical that Holmes met in jail, ratted him out because he didn't get the money that he was promised. You know, you might want to give the guy you let in on the plan the money. So he ratted him out for insurance fraud to insurance investigators. And then in 1894, they arrested him in Boston, Massachusetts. And he was later tried in Philadelphia for the murder of Pitziel and was hanged for his crimes. The funny part is that he was never actually arrested for the murder originally. He was originally arrested for the theft of a horse that he stole years ago in Texas. He wasn't even originally fucking touched for Pitziel's murder. While he was in jail, that's when they, like, connected him to the murder of Benjamin Pitziel. That is when it hit him. Like, that is when he finally got caught. So basically, he got away with murder for the longest time. And technically, he would have kept getting away with murder had it not been for the fact that he stole a horse. Talk about your past coming to bite you in the ass. I don't know, that's just so amazing to me. I don't know how he did that. No clue. No clue how he's getting away with, like, he is lucky as shit to be getting away with, like, all these murders. Somehow. Some way. Anyways, Mudgett eventually confesses to 27 of the murders, which he would later increase to over 130. Researchers, however, believe the real number exceeds more than 200, and police can only confirm that 9 victims were by him for sure. It's not hard to believe that the number could be pretty high, as thousands were said to have gone missing during the World's Fair, and the fact that his house was well equipped to disintegrate bodies through either acid baths or the furnace kind of makes it pretty believable. Also, the reason that Holmes even confessed his story was because the Hearst Corporation offered him $10,000 for it. And I don't know why he would do that. I don't know why he would do that for $10,000. Because that's confessing to your crimes, sir, while you were in jail. That is going to get you legally in trouble. Like, you are confessing to the crimes. He basically got paid $10,000 to admit he's a criminal. He admitted it for $10,000. Like, why the fuck would you do that? Like, are you fucking, like, this is why I think he's dumb. Like, cartoonishly level dumb. Because, like, how are you going to admit to so many crimes for $10,000 and expect to live to see those $10,000 when you are in jail for those crimes? Like, a court is going to see that confession and take it as a confession. And you know what happens to murderers during this time? They tend to die. They tend to get the death sentence. So why in his mind did he think? Like, I think he's blinded by money. I don't even understand how he thought that was gonna work, especially because he and his lawyer were not on good terms. So he decided to represent himself. Sir, where is the brain cell here? I don't even know. I don't even know. But it bothers me. It bothers me heavily. So fucking much that he would do this. Like, I'm like, how stupid are you? There's no way there's no fucking way. There's just no way. I read it with my own two eyeballs. It just stated everywhere that he did that. But, like, there's no way. How? I can't get over it. Anyways, Holmes, cartoonishly stupid. In my opinion. This is why I compare him to Mr. Krabs, because this sounds like a Mr. Krabs type of thing. Like, Mr. Krabs is known to, like, do really stupid deals for some money. Like, he gets rid of his best fry cook for, like, a penny. Or something like that. Like, dude, you got a penny. But you lost all the money you could be making off your fry cook. Anyways. This isn't about Eugene Krabs, but you know what? I'm gonna keep... It's about Holmes. Anyways, so Holmes would be hung for his crimes in 1896 in Philadelphia. So yeah, that's the end of his thing. He, yeah. Later on, one of his relatives claims that he was able to get out of being executed with his trickery. But this is false because they exhumed Holmes's coffin. And his body was well preserved because Holmes' last wish was to be buried in a coffin full of concrete so that way grave robbers couldn't rob his grave. Because, yeah, I mean, he did it. So I guess, he like, didn't let people just rest peacefully after their death in their grave. And he expects to rest peacefully with a slab of concrete to protect it. And the court actually went through with it. Whatever. Anyways, so because of this, his body was well preserved to the point where his handlebar mustache was still on his corpse when they found it. And they did a DNA test on the body and it was indeed Holmes. So that is not true. And then a relative also goes on to claim that Holmes was Jack the Ripper. And I don't believe that. I know a lot of people do subscribe to the idea that Holmes was Jack the Ripper, but it just doesn't work for me. Because... let's think about Holmes's MO. His MO is money. His MO is money. All he gives a shit about is money. Money. He is Mr. Krabs of the real world. He is the real world Mr. Krabs, okay? All he cares about, money, right? So why would he go all the way to England to kill 5 prostitutes that had no money because they were of lower class income, like they had low income, they were of lower class, they were in a crappy part of London, the living was not good back then in that area of London. Like, why would he kill these sex workers for no reason? Just zero reason whatsoever. None. Because, like, yes, Holmes likes dissection, but he only really killed when he had financial gain to come out of it. Like, it is not... there was hardly ever any cases that are, like, confirmed to be his killings that were, like, without money. So, why would he... like, what did he gain from that? Like, yeah, he got to, like, dissect some bodies, realistically, because, yes, some of the bodies were dissected. But, like, that wasn't what Holmes enjoyed. Like, first, like, he did enjoy dissection. Like, he did. Like, he liked it. But, like, even in his confession, his murders were mostly, like, suffocation, strangling. Things that mostly kept the body well preserved, because I think he would sell the bodies, for sure. I do believe that he sold bodies that were not grave robbed. I do think that, personally. But, like, it doesn't make sense to me. Like, do you see where I'm coming from? I know I'm, like, stammering through this, but, like, you see where I'm coming from. There was no financial gain to be made from killing these prostitutes, so there was no reason for him to do it, because that just doesn't line up with his interests. And also, it doesn't line up with his way of killing either, really, because he was not a brutal murderer. He was more of a poisoner, suffocationer, starvationer, like things that don't get bloody. And, you know, Jack the Ripper was bloody, to say the least. So yeah, I just don't think it goes along with Holmes's MO, and I don't believe he was. And yeah, that's it. That's everything on Holmes that I have for us today. Thank you for joining me. I know I stammered through a lot of this. This was all done in one take, surprisingly. I'm probably gonna, like, cut it up a bit. I'm gonna see how it sounds and stuff like that. I hope to God I got everything sounding pretty decent and everything like that. I'm sorry if I stammered through. I just really didn't want to make a script. I'm lazy, and I'm just having a week. I've been having a week for probably more than a week, but I'm having a week, and I wanted to get a video out and feel like I was being productive. Thank you for joining me. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you all next time. Bye.